Isaiah 50 says, my word, God says, my word will not return to me empty, but it'll accomplish my purposes. There are some things we can understand in this. There's a lot of things we won't. The good news about chapter 18 is that chapter 19 comes right after it. We're going to have a celebration day when we come to that. So if you want to turn with me your Bibles, we'll jump into this thing as God opens our eyes and gives us the vision, I hope, to see some of the wonderful things that are in here. This deals with the fall of Babylon, which we saw also in the previous chapter. One of the things that's difficult about this is that there's apparently two Babylons. One that we talked about last week is the religious Babylon. That's Rome. There's not much question about that. It pretty well nails it down, the city of the seven hills. And that is the religious Babylon. The Babylon we're going to look at today is the commercial Babylon. This hasn't got a lot of press in the Bible, but it's going to be revealed today. Not today, but in this chapter. Now, where this Babylon is extremely difficult to pin it down. You'll see as we go along. So having prepared you for this, let's just jump in and we'll harvest what we can harvest from this. Chapter 18, the revelation of Jesus Christ, beginning at verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. That's some opening. It's another angel. Now if you go back up to chapter 17, verse 1, and there came one of the seven angels. And before that, this is another angel. This is apparently the most potent one of all. It comes down having great power, greater power than the ones preceding him is implied here. And the earth was lightened with his glory. This angel comes down with enormous radiance, with light. Something's about to happen here. We haven't seen this quite like this since we saw Christ coming that way. Verse 2, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. The stronghold of sin is doomed here. Babylon the Great is fallen. The tense here that it's translated in is in the past tense. But in the original, it's in a present tense because this is good. It's already happened. It's a past tense. When God says something, it's already done. When Rahab told the spies, when she entertained them before Joshua attacked Jericho, she says, I know the Lord hath given you the city. In other words, he's already done it. If he says he's going to do it, it's done. She, that dear little pagan woman, had more sense, more faith than anybody in Israel did. If God says it is as good as done. And the angel is saying the same thing here. The habitation of devils, unclean spirits, minions of the Satan, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. What is it that is that horrible?
United States.
Huh?
The United States.
Well, it could be. It's possible. But we certainly have a lot of candidates for this, for who could take this here. Every foul and hateful bird, the image I get is, I was going down Charleston Road there, and there was a dead skunk in the road, 5 or 6 crows parked right, picking away at it, carrying. And this is kind of the picture we have here. Birds eating dead things. That really is what it's saying. Verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich through the abundance of her delicacies. You're going to see so much references to merchants and commercials. There's about 14, 15 different items that are for sale that are cataloged, listed right in this chapter. You'll see them as we go along. And there's that word fornication again, which means a violation of what is holy to God here. Everything that's holy, the devil wants to defile it somehow. Verse 4 says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double, according to her works. And the cup which she hath filled to her double. This means that its punishment is going to come. It's going to come quickly, and twice as much as she did, she's going to get. It's pretty harsh. And I've got a lot of raw thoughts about this, and a couple of little theories. They're just theories. I wouldn't put too much weight on them, but things I don't know about, like where the city is, it doesn't tell you, but there's some interesting hints. Verse 7, how much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she hath saith in her heart, I see the queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. The word deliciously there means in luxury. The word is used twice. She's lived luxuriously. This is a starting picture of the rich of the rich. The top 10 billionaires. I saw in the news today that Elon Musk is no longer the richest man in the world. It's some tech CEO from some company who has just surpassed him. And they're all doubling for sitting as a queen, sitting as a king on top of the world with all their millions and billions of dollars and sometimes. I shall see no sorrow. They all think they got the world by the back of the neck. This is an indictment against commerce for the first time in the Bible. And it got me thinking how much evil is caused by people who will never have enough money. At one time, John D. Rockefeller was the richest man in the world. He was being interviewed by a newspaper reporter, and the reporter said, Mr. Rockefeller, how much money is enough? And he said, always a little more. That was his answer. He that loveth silver and gold, the Bible says, he that loveth silver and gold shall never be satisfied with silver and gold. You never will have enough. You worry about losing what you've got. You worry about making more. It's the cause of a great deal of contention and sorrow. It's also the cause of a great deal of evil upon other people. This is, as you see, this unfolds with a great deal of judgment against her. I remember last winter, it was one of those days where the wind chills were 0 and below. And I had to go into Walgreens in Bangor for something or other. I was standing there, and this man comes in, this elderly man, didn't even have a hat on. And he shuffles over to the prescription counter, and he says, my wife has just had a surgery, and I'm supposed to pick up a prescription for her here. Slipped to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist went out and came back, and he said it very kindly, but he said to me, and I'll never forget it, he says, now you know, sir, that your copay is $783. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the number, 700. That's the copay. How much money is being made off of that? Now, how's that old man? He didn't have $783. And his wife, probably her life and death depends on this. And the people at the top don't care. Have you noticed that used to be, if you watch an NFL football game, you have insurance companies advertising, cell phone companies advertising, food companies advertising, and pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical advertising has expanded like I've never seen before. And they're taking a new tack. Used to be pharmacies were only sold by salesmen from the pharmaceutical companies who will go around and interview doctors. Now the pharmaceutical companies are going directly to the public. You've got this problem, tell your doctor to buy this. Yeah. They don't have enough. And then the insurance companies. And there's good medicine in some pharmacies, and it's good that they have insurance. But some of these people have gone way over. You know, they don't have enough. They're never going to have enough. Verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of the Lord of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, from 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn for her. For no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and thyine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and manner of vessels of precious wood and of brass and of iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and the souls of men. That's quite a list of, I told you that's the big list of merchandise coming. It's like you just took a walk through a big Walmart or a big department store. There's a department for everything. And this thing about in one day, oftentimes prophecies have events that are partially fulfilled, that are a type and a shadow of a full fulfillment. And here's this great city, whatever this is. And it tells us that let me go a little farther on these things here. The merchants of these things which were made rich shall stand afar off for fear of our torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great a riches has come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Here's the problem of saying what city this is. It can't be Jerusalem. Jerusalem's not a port city. You can't have a ship see it. It can't be Rome. Rome's not on the ocean. You know, is New York still a candidate? It used to be the commercial capital of the world. I don't know if it still is or not, but it certainly has. It certainly is close there. The stock market is there. It is one of the financial centers. Now, London has never been a great seaport. The Thames River is muddy and narrow, and it's never been a thing for really great ships. So, I mean, what city is this? Some commentators believe that it's a city that hasn't been built yet. Some commentators believe that it's going to be a revival of the old Babylon. That city that was destroyed. Not necessarily built on the same spot, but built as a great city, built quickly, and built in the general location. Now, if you look where Babylon is, it's right at the north of the Red Sea, where the oil ships come in and out. Right now, one of the great things, of course, of commerce is oil. And that whole area is rich. You have cities over there that are, some of those Arab cities are incredibly gorgeous. So I don't really know what it is. But when it says here about dead in 1 hour, in one night, does that ring a bell with any of you? Remember what happened with that? Remember in the book of Daniel, when Babylon was still in existence, when Babylon ruled the world, and Babylon at that time was the greatest city. It's still the greatest city that's ever been built in the world. There's never been one bigger than that. Its walls were 15 miles by 15 miles by 15 miles by 15 miles. You could put about a dozen New York cities in the middle of it. The walls were 300 feet tall. They were wide enough you could drive 5 chariots side by side all around the city. It went down 30 feet underground, and that was to the outer walls, there was inner walls. It was ridiculous to think of taking that city because the walls were the greatest walls the world has ever seen. And then when Nebuchadnezzar died and Belshazzar, Nebuchadnezzar left the kingdom to Belshazzar, and he made a great feast. And thousands of his lords drank the wine, and they were all drunk. And he commanded to bring the vessels of gold and silver. Does this sound familiar? Drunk is talking about in Revelation. Gold and silver vessels, opulence, beautiful, rich splendor. And they're drinking wine and praise the gods of gold and of silver, brass, of iron and wood. Praising the gods of gold. People worship money today and the things that money can buy. They'll kill for money, they'll lie for money, they'll cheat for money, they'll steal for money. And they don't care who they hurt. They don't care if an old man can't come up with $783 for a copay for his wife's benefit. They don't care. If she dies, they'll find somebody else to buy the drugs. They're ruthless. You don't know how ruthless they are. I mean, some of my jobs took me into the boardroom of one of the major corporations, and I sat in on some of the meetings. And I listened to the CEO talk. You could just see him just salivating, talking about this money. And I had one man at work, he said to me privately, he says, I love money. And Belshazzar felt that way, but he pushed God too far. Remember, he saw the finger coming down, writing on the wall, and it scared him. His knees smote, his knees shook. And his astrologers couldn't interpret it, so he called for Daniel, and Daniel says, I'll tell you what it means, but you're in a lot of trouble. And he interpreted it saying, this night, that's many, many tikkun ufarshim, thou art weighed in the balances and found wanting. That's in Daniel 5, chapter 25, verse 25. And what he says is, he says, this night your kingdom is going to be taken away from tonight. One day, what says in Revelation? One day, 1 hour, so riches, it's going to come in. Short period of time. And it was ridiculous. And one night, Babylon, and they probably thought it was funny. But Belshazzar, I don't think he laughed a whole lot. Daniel says, this night thy kingdom shall be taken from thee. They probably didn't take it seriously. But while they were partying and while they were abusing the things of God, those golden vessels are what they stole out of the temple in Jerusalem. Desecrating the things of God in their revelry. While they were drinking, a man named Cyrus the Great had come down from the north. And the little weak spot, the Achilles heel of the city of Babylon, was its water supply. That which made it so beautiful and produced the hanging gardens of Babylon, which was one of the 7 wonders of the world. the Euphrates River flowed in to the side of those big walls, and the walls went 30 feet down, so you couldn't tunnel under them. But they had a grate that came down so the river could go under the wall. And the grate went down just a few feet, and the river flowed into the city in the top, came down, went out the bottom. And there was canals dug for miles, so it was fertile. Everything was irrigated and lush, gardens of flowers and beautiful. Cyrus's engineers went up to miles north of the Euphrates River, and they dammed the river. When they finished the dam, the river stopped flowing. And while Belshazzar and his army were having a drunken revelry, Cyrus the Great marched the Persian army right under the walls of Babylon and took it in one night. That night is recorded in history, October 11th and 12th. The night of the 11th and to the morning of the 12th, 539 BC. That was the night. In one night, the greatest city the world ever seen fell. God said it. He said it then and it happened. So that's a partial fulfillment. He's saying it now in the future, that this great commercial center. Now, I don't know whether it's New York. I don't know who it is. And that's been a source of a lot of speculation. What's this great city? This is obviously a commercial, the end of big business running things. Big business runs things more than you can guess. Nobody's ever got enough. And in 1 hour she's made desolate. In verse 20, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and it shall be found no more at all. Think of a huge rock being dropped in a millstone. There's two sizes. There's the small ones that women use by hand to grind flour with every day. Then there's the big ones that are often pulled by donkeys that go around to crush grain for commercially. A great millstone is one of the big ones, and it could weigh a couple of tons. Think of a big rock dropped in the ocean. It goes down, this big splash comes up, and it's gone. And the water covers it up, and that's it. When you see it, now you don't. That's how it is with this city. Like a big stone dropped in the water, it makes a splash, the splash goes away quick. Drop something in the water. Watch how fast the splash disappears. And the surface is like you never knew anything was there. I mean, I've watched videos, films of ships sinking. And the second the bow goes down, there's this huge bubbling water come up and froth. And then within seconds, it's gone. It's like you never knew anything was there. That's the picture here, how fast. It'd be found no more at all. Verse 22, and the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers. I hope that means bagpipes, but I don't. It probably doesn't. Although on that subject, the etymology, the history of the bagpipe goes all the way back to Israel. There is an instrument. We have found pictures of it on the walls of discovered temples and buildings that had one drone and one pipe in a bag. So that wasn't the bagpipe as we know it, but it had its origins there. So did the kilt. The garments that David wore was very much like a kilt. Remember it says when he put his hand in a scrip to take the stones, the scrip was like a fanny pack. When you wear a kilt, you wear something called a sporin. A sporin scrip. Sporin is a little pouch. And you keep your car keys in there in your wallet. That's not David. I don't think he had car money for days. But it's the same thing. It has its origins all the way back in Israel. I'm trying to prepare you for the fact that on Charleston Old Home Days, I'm probably going to wear my kilt just to provoke people. I would bring people into the story. There's a weirdo over there in his kilt. We'll find out what that's about. Anything for the Lord. Be a fool for Christ, right? It says, and shall be heard no more in thee, and no craftsman or whatsoever crafty be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. The sound of a millstone is the sound of industry. That means like machines running and commercial things. Verse 23, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints, and of all that were slain upon the earth. This is one of the most mysterious and difficult chapters in the Bible, as I said at the beginning of this. Some of my commentaries didn't even touch it all. They went from 17 to 19. One thing that I'll read to you today, one of the commentators did mention somewhat through the Bible by Dr. Zaber. This is volume 5 of his commentary. This is the written form of his radio program that he had all those years. And he was talking about an assessment of what caused cities to fall and cultures to fall. And he references Edward Gibbons. He was a historian who in 1788 wrote one of the most notable, most famous works of history, The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. It is one of the most esteemed series of historical books because it covers one of the world's great empires, and it does so with lucidity and a great deal of details, and it has been corroborated by contemporary writers, Tacitus and Suetonius and Flavius Josephus, writers at that time confirmed that what he's saying happened. And he was talking about why the civilization crumbled. He says one of the most widely read books of all time is The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. In it, he gives 5 basic reasons why that great civilization withered and died. Now remember, history repeats itself. Mark Twain says history repeats itself because nobody listens the first time. So think about that, history repeating itself. And here are the reasons, the 5 reasons that the Roman Empire fell. See if you might not connect these with things in our country today. Number 1, undermining the dignity and sanctity of the home, which is the basis for human society. 65% of all marriages end in divorce today within 7 years. Second marriages are 70%. How many kids do we have even in our school that don't have a mom and dad? I mean, I don't have to explain this to you. You see that our family is under attack. If you look on a television program, the men are always made to look like idiots. They don't know nothing. They're always dumb. Tear down the role of the father, and everything is under attack there. Number 2, higher and higher taxes. The spending of public money for free bread and circuses for the populace. I could spend some time on that, but I guess you can pretty well figure that out. Number 3, the mad craze for pleasure. Sports becoming every year more exciting, more brutal, and more immoral. You see the NFL this year? 2 guys spit on people. 1 guy punched another guy already. 1 game into the season. And the love of sports, they keep making new ones. Now they have half-court basketball with only 3 players and only 1 basket. I mean, all the women's sports, soccer is now, there's a National Women's Soccer League, like there's the National Football League and a Major League. They're making Major League because there's money in that. Money on TV rights and ads and seats. Sports parents. Go to a school and go walk anywhere, see if you can find something that have a sports jersey on for some team. Baseball, soccer, hockey, football, whatever it is. If you drew a circle, a 10-mile radius around here, where I'm staying, in a 10-mile circle, and let's suppose that within that circle, there's the homes of 100 teenage boys. And in those 100 teenage bedrooms, who do you think's pictures are on the posters on their walls? Is it Jesus Christ? I don't think so. It's a football player, or a tennis player, or an athlete of some sort, or a Marvel's comic hero. Everything but the only person who should be their hero. And boy, do we love our sports. Sports completely rolls out Sunday now. Sunday is taken up with sports. And many parents don't go to church because their kids got a game. And if it comes down between sports and the church, guess who loses? The church loses. Well, my kids I love sports, don't get me wrong. But it has to be kept in balance. Too much of anything, and it's a god in our country. It's an idol in our country today. It's unbelievable. Number 4, the building of great armaments when the real enemy was within. The decay of individual responsibility. All these nations today are all arming themselves. You realize that Putin spent the money he's spending on weapons on his people, there wouldn't be any hungry people in Russia? If Xi Jinping, the guy in China, they spend the money on themselves. I mean, if governments would take care of their people and spend money on people and caring for them, very few politicians ever have. Charlemagne did. He was one. That when he made his borders secure and made his country safe, that was his first responsibility, was the safety of his nation, by the way. He was one leader who knew that. Keep my people safe from the enemies. But then when they were safe, he poured his money into schools and agriculture and education and blessing his people. And his benefit, Queen Victoria was one. She had a great empire, but she cared about her people. William Gladstone. There's been very few politicians or leaders who really cared for the people. Number 5 is the 5th reason, the decay of religion. Faith fading into mere form, losing touch with life, losing power to guide the people. How many times have you heard me say, we got God Club Sunday mornings in so many places. It's like they love the music and everybody likes to see everybody and to have a good time. And they'll tough out a message and sort of feel like they've done their religious thing for the week, and they go home and they forget about God for the rest of the week. That's where a lot of people are. That's lukewarm mediocrity. It's not just here, it's all over the world. Churches are just a decay of real religion, of the Church of Jesus Christ, the Christian church, being like it was in the book of Acts, when it was vibrant. People had Zoe life. There's different Greek words for life. One means just biological existence, but Zoe means vibrancy. When Jesus says, I've come to give you life and life more abundantly. Well, anyway, McGee goes on to say this: the oft-heard warning that history repeats itself has an ominous meaning in the light of the above. We can already see these 5 things that work in our contemporary culture in this country. The same things will bring Babylon down at the end. They destroy the nation and the home and the individual. Thank God the sad story of man's sin will come to an end. This chapter brings to a conclusion the frightful period which was labeled by the Lord Jesus Christ the Great Tribulation. In the next chapter, we will see him coming to earth to bring an end to this dark, doleful, and disastrous period. Now, I'm not going to read it to you. I thought about reading it, but I won't. It's a whole page. It's a whole summary of everything we've read so far. And I don't know, maybe I'll do that next week. I don't usually like to be read to, so I don't want to have you sit there and me read this long. It's beautifully written, but it really summarizes the whole, everything, all of the chapters we've read so far in a very succinct summary. And let me see if I can just get rid of a little synopsis here. Well, I'll just read the concluding thing about where we are in history. He says, the late Dr. Bill Anderson of Dallas, Texas, used to say, God is getting the stage all set. It looks like he's coming soon. Props are up, curtains are up, everything's ready to go for the curtain to come up and this drama of this end time to begin. But if he's not planning to come right now, and since it would take a lot of doing to get the world in this position again, if I were the Lord, I would just come on now and take the church out of the world. It's sort of a joke. Well, we hope he will come now, but all we know is that the terrors of the tribulation will take place after the church has been removed at the rapture. We have been given no signs by which to gauge the time of his return, but we do see the setting of the stage, and we see some very significant things happening in our day. Obviously, Western Europe is looking for a man strong enough to put the Roman Empire back together again. An Antichrist is coming. They might not know it, but they are waiting for him. Also, we see a great power in the north. He talks about Russia and China and North Korea and all those things. But it is sort of like the stage is set. I don't have a whole lot more to say about the 18th chapter. I have more questions than I have answers for. Any of you have any thoughts on this? Have you studied anything you wish to add or any questions? Yes?
I wonder about this chapter's reference to Babylon, since it's so hard to pin it down to a single city.
It is.
And since this is the end of human history in Revelation, so it's not like we're going to have, London this time and New York next time. Yeah, so this is it. This is the final collapse. And I'm wondering if perhaps that those references really refer to the whole worldwide commercial system.
That is a very good analysis.
All of the interlocking banking and trade and
we are connected, right? That's right.
All connected together, and if that were all to collapse at once through whatever series or through whatever events, you have an EMP pulse that wipes out all the computers.
Exactly right. Yeah, that could happen.
Have some natural disaster that.
Well, of the 7 or 8 interpretations of the 18th chapter that I did read, what you just said is better than any of them. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we are connected by computers. If you had a computer crash all around the world, from a solar flare, from anything.
You can't get your money out of the bank.
Everything was stopped.
All your money is worthless.
It was stopped.
All the blips that constitute your account are gone.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good, and that would cover the one day thing.
Yeah.
And it could be a whole system. And the thing that threw a lot of commentators off is about the long references to mariners watching the city burn from the sea.
Yeah.
That could be symbolism. It could be involving just those cities, the great Arab centers for oil, and in the Netherlands you have these great centers for container ships. In the United States, San Francisco, San Diego, New York City, Baltimore. Baltimore is one of the great harbors of the world, still is today. it's the biggest bulk port in the world. That means ships coming in full and leaving full. So that would fit that. That's a
and a flood, another flood would, although the Lord said he's not gonna destroy the world by flood, but there is a flood as part of this, that could take out all those port cities.
And have you ever seen pictures of Dubai and some of these cities in Saudi Arabia and Qatar? I mean, they're beautiful cities. I mean, the tallest buildings in the world aren't in New York anymore. They're over there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Empire State Building is lot, and the Chicago, the Sears Tower, for a long time, America, from 1939 till about 10, 15 years ago, we had the tallest buildings in the world, not anymore. And they're huge skyscrapers over there. So, one commentator, or more than one commentator, said it could be something that happens very quickly. One of these cities could just go through a huge growth spurt. Just anything could happen. The only thing that I know is that it's going to happen. As I said before, I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. But I know it's going to happen because it's in this book. Yeah. I've said it, I will bring it to pass. Ezekiel 12:25. God said it, it's going to happen. That's a great analysis.
And there's a small historical analogy in 1800 BC and that period. The Minoan civilization dominated trade and commerce in the whole Eastern Mediterranean. They were the center of all the trade networks and so on. And then Thera exploded, and a massive tsunami wiped out the whole northern half of the island.
That's right.
Giving rise to all sorts of changes at that time. But
Tyre also in Phoenicia. That was at one time the greatest commercial port. Ships from Tyre, from Phoenicia, went all over the world. They were famous for that. And it was completely destroyed. Nothing but a bare rock left there now.
Yeah, but just as an example, the Minoan Empire was dominant during what the historians call the Late Bronze Age. And they were the center of the trade network that gathered the tin and the copper that they used to create bronze. That network was destroyed with Thera, and that triggered the change to the Iron Age. Iron is more difficult to work, more difficult to smelt, but if you don't have tin to make bronze, you use what you have.
You have to adapt, yeah.
And just as an example of the types of consequences,
There's a lot of those kinds of those symbols.
And it's also the period of the sea peoples who became the Philistines in Canaan and attacked Egypt and were beaten off, but every other empire in the area they destroyed. But this just one compared to Revelation, one minor disaster, one minor geological event had that sort of impact. Yeah. Because it wiped out the center, the people who were controlling the commerce and trade.
That's something else he said. You made me remind. Those are wonderful observations, Eric. There's a great deal of sense in that. It makes a great deal. It fits right in.
And again, just as an analogy. I'm not saying that's a precursor to this or anything like that.
Well, it certainly fits the pattern that God uses things as a symbol of what's to come. When Cyrus the Great destroyed Babylon, that's a symbol of this one. That makes a lot of sense. Think when the stock market crashed.
Yeah.
In 1929, people had lost everything. In Billy Graham's book, his father had worked so hard, he had saved up $15,000, which was like a couple of $100,000. He lost it all. Yeah. Sweat, milking cows, hard work, everything was gone, and it happened to lots of people. They lost.
Yeah, what if it didn't just crash? It was totally gone. All the records gone.
It wasn't going to come back. There was nothing to guarantee. There was no FDIC then to guarantee your savings. And during that time, the stock market crash, there was an eruption of suicides amongst the rich. People jumping off buildings and shooting themselves. Suicide rate went through the roof. They lost everything. They couldn't live anymore. That was a great thing. And very sensible. I didn't know that about the Minoans. They were one of those people that get lost between the Greeks, the Persians, and the Romans. They're in there. They're in that area of the Mediterranean, but you don't get a whole lot, like the Hittites and the Hyksos. And the Phoenicians, they don't get a lot of press. They get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, but it's something that historians call the Bronze Age collapse, and it was largely due to the Thera volcano explosion, and they date that to somewhere between 1650 and 1500 BC. And literally every Eastern Mediterranean empire except Egypt was destroyed by the sea people who probably were the surviving Minoans fleeing their island.
Remember, this takes place, remember 2-3 weeks ago, with those 7 bullets poured out, where all the life of the sea died, everything.
Yes.
Remember, and then a third of all the fresh water, a third of living things, a third of mankind, billions of people died all at the same time. So in the midst of all that, and the sun wasn't giving light, and intense heat that was scorching people, and plagues and boils and all these horrible things, in the midst of that, this crashes. I mean, this is, if you put it all together, and maybe Mickey will do that at the end of this, I'll have to see what that, it's quite a picture of what happens. You know, when Jesus warned, don't be alive in those days, you know.